Do breakfast duties have you feeling scrambled? If your morning cooking attempts keep going sideways, don't worry, egg enthusiasts. We've got the ultimate tricks to help you master perfectly fried eggs every time. Before you even crack an egg, success starts with the right pan. Every kitchen has its mix of cookware, from cast iron and stainless steel to trusty non-stick skillets. But when it comes to frying eggs like a pro, the non-stick pan reigns supreme. It's the same kind used in diner kitchens everywhere, designed with layers of slick coating that keep food from clinging to the surface. That means your eggs glide easily onto the spatula when it's time to flip, leaving almost no residue behind and giving you that picture-perfect turn every time. Stainless steel, on the other hand, is best left for hardier tasks like searing steak or browning chicken. Eggs tend to cling stubbornly to its surface, making flipping a sticky struggle. As for cast iron skillets, while they can get the job done if well seasoned, they're not exactly the simplest option for a smooth egg flip. Getting it right takes a little practice, especially when it comes to finding the ideal balance of oil and heat. Some cooks swear by cast iron for those golden, crispy edges that form around a fried egg. But if you're aiming for a smooth, flawless flip, the non-stick pan is the clear champion. Once you've picked your pan type, the next step is making sure it's the right size for the number of eggs you're frying. Using a pan that's too small can lead to crowded, unevenly cooked eggs, while one that's too large can make them spread too thin and lose that perfect shape. For a single fried egg, a smaller pan, around 6 inches, is ideal. It keeps the egg contained without making flipping awkward. The goal is to have just enough space for the spatula to slide underneath easily. If you're frying 2 to 3 eggs, move up to an 8 to 10 inch pan. Cooking a bigger batch of 4 or 5, a 12-inch skillet will give each egg enough breathing room. In short, the more eggs you're making, the larger your pan should be. A lot of people hurry through making eggs, and it's understandable. Breakfast usually happens when you're short on time and sleep. But skipping one small step, preheating your pan, can actually cost you more time later when you're stuck scrubbing it clean. Preheating is key, because if your eggs hit a cold pan, the whites will spread and stick before they can set properly. That not only ruins their shape, but also makes flipping nearly impossible without breaking the yolk. To avoid that, warm your pan over low heat for about 4 to 5 minutes if it's medium-sized. If patience isn't your strong suit, get the pan heating right away while you prep the rest of breakfast. Grab your ingredients, pour your coffee, and by the time you're ready to cook, your pan will be perfectly prepped. Even with a non-stick pan, you'll still need a bit of grease to keep your eggs from clinging. You've got 2 main choices, oil or butter, and while both do the job, they'll give you slightly different results. Any fat will work, but each brings its own flavor and texture to the table. If you're team oil, olive oil is a top pick. It's one of the healthier options and gives fried eggs beautifully crisp edges, especially if you're aiming for that perfect over-easy finish. Add it to the pan about halfway through preheating so both the oil and pan reach the right temperature before your eggs go in. Butter, on the other hand, is the go-to for many cooks who love the rich, savory flavor it lends to every bite.
Fattening.
Butter is perfect if you prefer tender, velvety egg whites instead of crisp edges. With about a minute left in your preheating time, drop your butter into the pan. Once it melts and starts to gently bubble, that's your cue to crack in your egg. No matter which fat you use, the key is timing. Add it once the pan is warm, not cold. Give it just a moment to sizzle lightly, then it's go time for your eggs. If you're going to put effort into making the perfect breakfast, you don't want to sabotage it with eggs that aren't fresh. That doesn't mean you need farm-fresh eggs from a neighbor's coop, but it does pay to be selective when picking eggs at the store. When choosing eggs, always take a look at the date on the carton. Most eggs have a best buy date, and while they're not necessarily unsafe afterward, their quality can start to drop. Even if the eggs aren't past that date, check how close they are. Older eggs tend to have runnier whites, which can make flipping them a bit tricky. For best results, try to use eggs as close to their packaging date as possible. Another tip when shopping, reach for cartons at the back of the fridge. Stores rotate stock, so the older eggs are at the front, meaning the freshest ones are often tucked in the back. Finally, let your eggs sit out for a few minutes before cooking. Dropping a cold egg straight into a hot pan can slow the cooking process and affect the final texture. Few things are more frustrating than cracking an egg and seeing bits of shell tumble right into your pan. So how do you prevent stray shells from ending up in your eggs? The trick is to crack them on a flat surface rather than the edge of a pan. Hitting a corner can push tiny shards into the egg, while a flat surface helps keep the shell intact and out of your way. Celebrity chef Bobby Flay has a foolproof approach. He cracks eggs into a small bowl first, then gently slides them into the pan. This way, any rogue shell pieces can be removed before cooking, and you can control exactly where the egg lands, keeping it neatly in place instead of spreading all over the pan. There's a lot of prep that goes into perfect eggs, but now comes the crucial moment, the flip. To do it right, you need the proper spatula. Start by choosing one that's thin enough to easily slide under the egg. A thick spatula can push the egg out of shape, crack the yolk, or tear the delicate edges of the white. Not ideal when you're aiming for perfection. In a classic breakfast diner, chefs usually rely on a thin, metal spatula with small slots or holes. These keep the spatula lightweight, making it much easier to lift and flip the egg cleanly. Silicone spatulas can work as well, as long as they're thin enough to get under the egg. A high-quality spatula is worth the investment. It can truly make or break your fried eggs. The heat you cook your eggs at plays a huge role in how easily you can flip them, and it varies depending on the style: over easy, over medium, or over hard. Once your pan is preheated on low, you can adjust the temperature after adding the egg. For a soft, runny, over easy egg, keep the heat low to medium and let it cook for about 45 seconds to a minute before flipping. For over medium and over hard eggs, medium heat works best. Let the eggs cook a bit longer before flipping, around 20 extra seconds for medium and another 20 to 30 seconds for over hard. Keep an eye on your pan though, because it can heat up quickly and ruin the eggs if it gets too hot. Some quick indicators: if the eggs start cracking or popping, lower the heat. If you see smoke, you've pushed it too far and need to turn it down immediately. Conversely, the heat can also be too low. If the egg whites aren't firming up and turning opaque shortly after hitting the pan, it's a sign you should raise the temperature slightly. A common mistake is flipping the egg too soon or too late. Doing so can crack the yolk or make the still runny white slide off the cooked portion. In short, a complete breakfast disaster.
Can I offer you a nice egg in this trying time? Yeah!
The good news is that if you've prepped everything correctly, flipping the egg can be smooth, as long as you catch the timing right. Watch the egg whites closely. They should be fully opaque, with just a small amount of clear near the yolk. Another clue is the edges. Once they've set and hold their shape instead of wobbling, your egg is ready to turn. Before flipping, gently test the edge with your spatula to make sure it lifts easily. Loosening the egg slightly helps prevent sticking. Then, slide the spatula underneath, lift carefully, and flip. Just like that, you've nailed it. TikTok has become a hot spot for discovering new recipes and clever cooking hacks. And one viral egg flipping trick uses the lid of your frying pan. This method is especially handy for over easy or over medium eggs, since it drastically reduces the chance of breaking the yolk. Here's how it works. Once your egg is ready, lift the pan and give it a gentle shake to loosen the egg. When it slides freely, it's time to flip. Hold the lid upside down and carefully slide the egg onto it, keeping the yolk facing up. Place the pan on top of the lid and press down firmly. Then, rotate both hands 180 degrees and lift off the lid. Your egg will land perfectly flipped back in the pan. Voila! You've got flawless fried eggs, exactly how you like them.